everyone and welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Ben and I've been a software engineer for about 10 years and a YouTuber for about 6 or 7 years. And something that I've always really wished existed was a Patreon style application, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, those sorts of websites that enabled people to pledge cryptocurrency instead of fiat currency to their favorite influencers. And I've always really enjoyed making software projects. I've had a couple of relatively successful software startups that I've made exits from and that kind of thing. And this is just a project that I really think is going to be useful to a lot of people and something that I wish was in the world. And so this is going to be like a development vlog / day in the life series where I implement this new project from day one, implementing all the different functionality of the website. And I hope you really enjoy this new channel that I've just started to build. But before that, as you can see, I'm getting my coffee, my first coffee of the day. I always like to have a walk to Starbucks, which is about 5 or 10 minutes from my house, every single day before I start work at about 8:30 in the morning. And so today is going to be the first line of code. It's going to be the first day of everything. So we need to get a domain name for this project. I need to set up a server on a cloud provider. And I also need to make a database and choose a template for the front end of the website. And so there's a lot of different things that we're going to do today for this project. So it's nearly 9 in the morning now and it's time to get started on this project. The first thing I'm going to do is set up a server, and I'm using Vultr, which is a cloud service provider similar to AWS or Google Cloud Services or something like that. And now I'm setting up a MySQL database, and that is going to be the database I use to store all the information on my users and everything about the project. Something I really wanted to do quickly is think of a name and then stick with that name and move on, because you can spend a lot of time thinking of a name for your startup and agonize over whether it makes sense or whatever it might be. And so I decided just to use ChatGPT to find a interesting Silicon Valley startup name and just stick with that and move on. So now I have a simple server and a simple database as well on that server ready to add tables to and start writing code and things like that. But before I do that, the next step I'm going to do is secure this database and also secure the server just so no one can attack it and infiltrate it and ruin my development process. So I'm removing root access from my database and also from my server so that no one can access my server as root, and that's just like a standard security practice when you're building servers and also databases. And I'm going to make some new users, one for myself so that I can connect to the server via SSH and also connect to my database as myself or as my program that I'm going to be building as the backend service for this whole system. I've also gone ahead and installed Apache on my server as well so that my server can serve web pages to users coming to the website. And now that I know that my server can serve websites and users can come to my website via IP or via bitback.co when I have that URL, they'll be able to receive data, and it will eventually be obviously my entire website, which will be Bitbacker and all of the functionality associated with that. So after those little steps were completed, I decided it was now time for lunch. It was around 12:15, something like that, and I like to have a nice long lunch. What I normally do is I start work quite early. I'll do maybe a few hours, then I'll have a long lunch, and then I'll work quite late afterwards as well. So I'm kind of stretching out my day a little bit, but it means I can have a really nice break in the middle and recharge and also eat something nice and go for a nice walk and do some exercise as well. So we caught the train, we went down to Harrods, which is like a really nice department store in the center of the city, and we had a little bit of a look around, and then we went to their food court and we bought some nice food to take home and make some lunch with. And now we're back from that little break, and I'm working on the MySQL database again, trying to make my new user that I've made on the database have full read and write permissions of all the tables. And it turns out that in the MySQL version 8, I believe, they changed it so that you cannot just grant privileges on a new user as a way to make a new user. And so I was just looking through Stack Overflow and figuring out the new way to create a user and grant it access to all of the tables on the database. So I'm going to be using Bootstrap as my styling platform for making this website, and here we can see a whole bunch of different Bootstrap templates from the main Bootstrap website, and I decided to buy this template. It was about $50, so it wasn't too expensive, and I think it's going to be, with a bit of modification, a really awesome front page and style guide for my new platform. It's basically a hotel template website, but I think it can be modified quite well to be like a Patreon style profile website, if that makes sense. Because basically what I want to do is I want to have a user come to the site, they can search for a particular influencer that they want to back, and then it has like a profile page of that influencer and maybe like a stream of content that you can get access to if you pay like a monthly subscription or something like that, and that's all going to be quite customizable. But I think that this page that we're seeing now, this template, is quite modern, and it has all of the components that I'll need to make my website. So a search bar, and then it has cards that have like different pieces of information in them, and I think it's going to be a really good template to start building from. And if I decide that I want to choose something different in the future, it'll be quite easy to just replace this with an entirely new template and still have the underlying logic built in the back end of the system. So now it's 3 o'clock and I'm starting to get a little bit hungry, so I've gone over to the Sushi cafe restaurant next to my house, and I'm just going to pick out a few nice pieces of sushi to take home and eat while I'm working. My favorite sushi is the salmon rolls with avocado, and I also sometimes get some mochi balls as well, particularly the chocolate ones. I would say they're probably my favorite ones. And once I've got this, I'm going to go home and I'm going to implement a little bit of the login system in the MySQL database. And if I have time, I'll also start creating the PHP script from a GitHub, which has like a standard login script, and start customizing it to make a nice secure login system for my project. Here I am just after finishing my sushi. It's about 3:45 p.m. and I'm implementing the PHP Panic login system, which is that minimal login system I was talking about. There's a few issues with this login system if you use it straight out of the box. One of them is that it doesn't have SQL injection protection. So here I'm basically installing this login system and then also adding SQL injection protection on top of all of the queries, and then also adding all of the tables and schemas that I need to add into the MySQL database to make it all run. And there's a couple of installation scripts it comes with, but because I'm going to be changing how the PHP code actually interacts with the database, making sure it's super secure and has SQL protection and makes sense for the type of system I'm building, I'm going to actually install it manually and then make all of the changes that I need to make manually on top of that, because the system is quite simple and PHP is one of my favorite languages, so I'm more than happy to jump into the code and make any changes that I need to make. Alright, so it's nearly 7 o'clock now and I'm going to finish up working for the day, unless I feel like doing a little bit more in the late evening when I get back home, because I like to do about 6 hours of like really solid work, and I find that I can't really do any more than about 6 hours of like really mentally intense work, even if I have like a big break in the middle. So I tend to just have a hard stop. As long as I get everything that I wanted to get done within those 5 or 6 hours, I feel like that is a success. So right now I'm walking to my jiu-jitsu class where I'm going to train with a bunch of my friends and also my brother as well, and I'm going to head over to my brother's house to pick him up and also see his cute little Cavalier King Charles Spaniel puppy that he just got a few days ago, and he's absolutely adorable. This is Kirby. He's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and he's 8 weeks old. My brother just picked him up and he's a super friendly and boisterous little pup, and I really enjoy having any excuse I can to go and see him and give him a cuddle. And that's really the end of the day for me. Now me and my brother are going to go to our jiu-jitsu class, and just as part of the end of this video, I'm going to show one of my roles I had with a fellow blue belt at Grapple Zone, which is where I train, and have a talk with you about how I feel like the first day went of this new project. I think that it went really well. We have some great things already started. We have the domain name, we have a name for the platform, we have a front-end template, which I think looks really awesome. We've already started with some great back-end infrastructure. We have a server, we have Apache so it can serve websites, we also have a little database with a login system, and we have really like all the bare bones for starting a really exciting project. And so I think that this is going to be a really awesome project, and I'm very excited to like share this process with you. I've never had a video series like this where I've started something right from the beginning and documented the entire process, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how me documenting it also kind of shapes how the project works. Anyone who's interested in jiu-jitsu as well or has never trained before, I would definitely encourage particularly software engineers and people who don't do anything particularly athletic as part of their job to go to one of these gyms and just give it a try. I think that it's really good for your cardio, it's great for fitness, it's also just good to do something that's like totally different to your job. And so for me as a software engineer, doing a combat sport that requires me to be in physically good shape and also have some like martial arts skills, I think is a really good complementary skill set and something that kind of keeps my software engineering job really fun and also gives me something completely opposite to look forward to at the end of the day. And I also really like that I can do it with my brother as well, and I've gained some really nice friendships and comrades as part of this journey, and I'm hoping to compete again, hopefully at the end of this year. So overall, I think that this technology is really starting to come together, and I'm really looking forward to getting some feedback from you guys as well as the project kind of starts to grow a little bit more, particularly on things like branding. And leave a comment on any of this project or anything about this video that you would give advice on or criticism about. I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say about this project and also about this channel, because this is a brand new channel, and I'm probably going to make quite a lot of mistakes making these videos, but also in the project, doing things that might not be the optimal way. I'm sure a lot of you watching are going to be experts in software engineering and things like that, and so it would be really good for me if you could provide any hints and advice that you would give if you see me doing anything that you don't necessarily agree with as part of the journey. But anyway, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate a like, and if you want to subscribe as well, you're more than welcome, because I'm going to make more of these videos in the future. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.